guys will be Niran Marshall Perera. So, to give you a little bit of a brief as to who Niran Marshall Perera is, he's actually a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and also happens to be a barrister solicitor at the Law Society of Ontario, and as well as an attorney at law at the Bar Association in Sri Lanka. So, Niran actually brings you wealth of legal expertise and hands-on experience when it comes to navigating the Canadian immigration landscapes. So don't worry, you're in the best and safe hands when it comes to getting information from this webinar. And also, before we dive in, I would also like to give you a little bit of a brief as to the housekeeping notes of this webinar to make sure that we have minimal interruptions going forward and to ensure that we cover as much ground as possible when it comes to having a productive session in the webinar. We will not be having a live Q&A session, but however, if you guys have personalized questions or if you want to get some clarification on your own personal applications, we are open to that as well. So all what you need to do is to reach out to us as we are allowing personal consultations. The specifics on how you can book a personalized consultation, guys, will be dropping you a link in this chat, so do look out for that as well. Alternatively, I will also be dropping a contact number so you can reach out to us and book a consultation in that way as well. So do look out in the chat. We'll be dropping all the links or rather specific details as to how you can book one-on-one consultations. And also don't forget, guys, to subscribe and follow our social media platforms. The reason as to why I'm saying this is we'll be sharing the latest Canadian immigration updates, success stories on individuals like yourselves, individuals or rather families like yourselves who have signed up with us, who have been in this journey with us, and the success stories of them as to how they achieved their PR journey. Say, for example, we are running a 28-day campaign these days where we drop one success story for each day in the month of February. So as of today, as it's 13th of February, uh, it's the 13th chapter that is live and up on our YouTube channel. You can just visit our YouTube channel and look for yourself as well. The details, or rather how you can visit our YouTube channel, we'll be dropping you specific links to all our social media platforms. And also, guys, we'll also be dropping specific guides and content with regards to Canadian permanent residence landscape. Say, for example, just 2 weeks ago, we dropped a comprehensive guide on the caregiver program as to how you can access the caregiver program, how you can obtain your permanent residence, what would be the minimum language requirement, what would be the experience needed. All of this is covered in the specific video that I just mentioned. So feel free to surf through our social media, feel free to surf through our YouTube, and you will find all those details at the same time. All right, I guess, guys, we're all set and ready to kick off the webinar for today. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we dive into the main content, before we move into the speaker for today, Niran Marshall Perera himself, we'd like to take a moment to introduce you to our company. It'll just be a 1-minute video, guys. Just feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And hope you guys have a smooth and a productive webinar. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So hope you're having a very pleasant evening. So my name is Niran. So what I'm going to do, without wasting any time, let's get into our content. Right. So Today we are going to talk about Canadian PR pathways as a resident of British Columbia, right? So then when it comes to obtaining PR right now, there are four main pathways. The first one, the federal draw, the Canadian experience class, then the category-based draw, then the pilot programs, then we have provincial nominee programs. So I'm going to discuss each one of those, and I'm going to tell you which one is my favorite and which one has the highest chance of getting it through, and the what you need to focus when, especially when you are above the age of 35, what needs to be done. If you're above the age of 40, what needs to be done. If you're below the age of 30, what needs to be done. So we are going to evaluate each and every one of these streams, and my mission here is to help you guys at least if anyone after listening to this webinar, if they find their PR pathway, my mission is accomplished. So without wasting any time, let's start with the immigration level plans for the year of 2025 and 2027, which was published by the IRCC on October last year. So according to the immigration plan, this is the immigration plan, right? So they have categorized the economic categories, like where they have mentioned the federal economic priorities, right? And then in Canada focus. So let's start with these two. So let's go to the footnotes here. The federal economic priorities is where they are talking about the categories, the category-based draw, which will be our second topic. Then when it comes to the in Canada focus, which we are talking about, the Canadian experience class. Right, so 1 second, let me share my screen here. Right, so hope you can see. So this is the federal economic priorities and the in Canada focus that I was talking about, right? So this is the 2025 to 2027 immigration plan, which was published by the IRCC on October, right? So this is the official plan. So remember, we have to play within their rules. There is nothing else. We have to understand their thinking, then we have to act accordingly. So here, the federal economic priorities, as I said, if you go to the footnote here, just click here, then you will be taken into this, where they are talking about category based. So as I said, we are going to discuss that. Then the second one is the in Canada focus. In Canada focus, they have specifically mentioned primarily admissions from Canadian experience class. And we have seen throughout the years, last year or so, the whole federal draws are confined to PNP as well as the category-based draws. So the and Canadian experience class has the highest number of invitations without a doubt, right? So just, sorry, okay, right. So so now we'll start with the federal draws. This draw is commonly known as the CRS draw, or the draw that is in 500s. People are talking how it's going to go into 550, whether it's going to come below 500. Like all those speculations are there. So in my personal opinion, Canadian experience class is the best method to get the PR. If you can go through under the Canadian experience class, don't even bother about thinking about anything else. I'll prove why. So, right. So then when it comes to the processing time, the first thing that we have to keep in mind under Canadian experience class is the fastest method of getting PR. Let's check that. So you go to the normal processing time. This is IRCC website, Government of Canada, Economic Immigration. Click the Canadian experience class, click on processing time. Current processing time is 5 months. So that means still within this year, you can become a Canadian permanent resident. So I have people who have become Canadian permanent residents within like 90 days of retaining us, right? That's unbelievable, right? So now the processing times are like 5 months, but earlier there used to be a period where they're processing within like 60, 70 days, right? So that's actually like the great thing about the Canadian experience class is nothing else, is the processing time. So in contrast, let's say provincial nomination. So let's check provincial nomination. Let's say you are to go under the non-express entry category. It's 21 months. So it's more than 4 times of the Canadian experience class. So if you are able to go under Canadian experience class, don't even think about it. Go under Canadian experience class, because right now, let's say we go through the provincial nomination. It's going to take, like, again, we have to go through the province, right? So the province will take 3 to 4 months. Then at this 21 months into that, we are talking about 2 years. And a lot of things can change in 2 years. Just imagine, with the rate of things changing in Canada right now, you don't want to wait for 2 years. No, you don't. Because of the fact that, because remember, 1 year ago, we were not bothered about getting spouse open work permits because it was readily available. But right now, it's a challenge. They are rejecting it. What if it happens to PR as well? So grab the opportunity as a fastest method. When you're coming to selecting your appropriate pathway, give consideration to processing time, right? So then the next one, the comprehensive ranking system, it is what that is used to decide the Canadian experience class, right? So primarily people from British Columbia, they used to, like, the majority of the students, they tend to do studies in like UCW, Simon Fraser, a lot of like master's program. So if you are a graduate of a master's program, I'm telling you, if you are below the age of 35, Canadian experience class is your best bet. Let me show you how. Right. So let's say you're married, and obviously your spouse is not a Canadian citizen, and then you want to apply with him. And let's say you're 35. Anybody below 35 will benefit, right? So let's say 35, and you have a master's, and it's a Canadian master's, right? So then you select the degree or diploma Canadian. Then let's say you get CLB 9, right? If you're unable to get CLB 9, at this moment, you might have to look for alternatives. Don't worry, I have all of you covered. I will provide a program for all of you that can be done, right? So let's first select the Canadian experience class. So we go with 9. Then obviously, let's say you don't have French. Most of the people don't, right? If you have French, yeah, game over. Apply under French category, you're through. Then let's say you work for 1 year. Then you have experience back home for 3 years. You do not have a certificate. You do not have an LMIA. Even if you have, it will not make any sense because they are going to reduce the points in stream. Then you do not have the provincial nomination. Then you don't have any siblings. Let's say your husband only has, like, he doesn't have a bachelor's or master's or 2 or more programs. Let's say he only has 2 year program. Then he's able to work for 1 year, and he can gain also, like, he can gain CLB 9, right? So remember, if any one of you cannot get this, don't worry, there are paths, right? So let's calculate and see. So then this itself will give you 509 points, right? So even if you're 35, you still have a chance under Canadian experience class. Remember, the last year, the scores dropped to 507, right? So the August 27, 2024, scores dropped to 507. Year before, it was 481, right? So the score can drop. So it's all about being at the right place at the right time. So if you can get into 509, you do have a chance. Then from here onwards, you can see how you can improve your score. For an instance, let's say you're good in English, you can improve, you can get CELPIP all 10 out of 12. No, it's not 10 out of 10, it's 10 out of 12. Let's say you get that, you will go into 521, which is exactly the current cutoff. So if you're able to get that, Canadian experience class, without a shadow of a doubt, is the best avenue, right? In case, if you are above 35 or so, then yes, let's say you're 40. I'm going to do this very quickly because, like, I have to cover the other pathways as well. So let's say you're 40, then 25 points will be deducted, right? So they will be in 496. Then any score below 505 or so, I see I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It can happen. You never know. But you need to have plan B and C. But if you're above 515, 510, Canadian experience class is definitely your pathway. Don't go look in search of other options, because that will be the best option without a shadow of a doubt. So I recently had a consultation. This young lady, like, she's going to complete 1 year in Canadian experience class in next November. So she was contemplating whether she should go through provincial nomination. So what I said to her was, even if you apply for province, province will take like 5-6 months, but for the entire process, right? You apply and 5-6 months. So by the time you apply, it will be July or August. Then you get the nomination, then you apply for PR. So then it can take 21 months from there onwards. But if you wait till November, and her score will be in 530s. So I don't think it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. So let's say you are unable to apply under Canadian experience class because you do not have enough points. Don't worry. Then the next best option is the category based. So IRCC introduced category based back in like last year. So these are the 6 main categories. We have French, health, STEM, trade, transportation, agriculture. But most important factor is the government in their latest immigration levels, they have clearly mentioned that the federal economic priorities, that 2025 priorities are confined to healthcare, trade, and French. So they have not officially cancelled these other STEM, trade, and agriculture, but we have not seen draws. For an instance, the last STEM draw happened back in 2024 April, right? So right now, I would say our target streams should be French, health, and trade. If the others comes through, it's a benefit. But right now, target French, health, and trade. Right. So if you're able to get 7 for like all 4 language abilities in French language, game over. It'll be very easy process because the current cutoff is just 466, but if it went down to even for 394, right? So when they initially started, so if you're able to get French 7, you have all the options available right in front of you. Even you can try the Ontario provincial nomination where the scores are dropping even below to 300. So that's going to be like, if you're able to get CLB 7, game over, you will be able to get the Canadian PR without a problem. So let's say that's a difficult task, right? Then the next option is healthcare. So when it comes to healthcare, the government has identified 35 NOCs as healthcare draw, under healthcare draw. Out of these, 33 of them cannot be performed by normal people like you and me. We cannot become a doctor, we cannot become a nurse, we cannot become an audiologist or speech language pathologist. That will be difficult. But there are 2 occupations that can be performed by normal people like you and me. So what are those 2? Write down, it's 33102. 33102 is the nurse aides. Like that is like personal support worker. You do a personal support worker program and you work for like personal supporter only for 6 months, then you will be able to apply under healthcare category, right? So that's a very good position because the healthcare draw is 463. The latest draw is 463. So if you're like approaching the age of like 40, as I said, still you can get it into 490s with a master's and the language score. Even like what you need is 463. So just work for 6 months as a healthcare worker, then you will be able to get your PR. Then the next one is 33109. This is the other assisting occupations. So for an example, this is a famous example because one of my clients, like they are working on this. So if you become an office assistant in like a medical clinic and perform not admin duties, admin plus technical duties, you will just be able to apply under this and you do not need any prior experience. This is just an office admin job done at a medical clinic. So still you will be qualified under the Canadian, the healthcare draw. So that will give you a great advantage because you only need to meet 463 as opposed to meeting 521, right? So the alternative number 1, health category. Yeah, French is there, but majority of the people cannot do that. So I'm not going to take that as an alternative. So alternative number 1, French category. Then let's check the other one. So the second one we are going to talk about is the trade, right? So the trade occupations, similar to health category, IRCC identified 10 occupations. So if you are able to demonstrate 6 months, right, in any of these, like the NOCs for 6 months work experience, then you'll be able to fall under trade category. The good part about that is the draw is even lower, 433. So that score can be achieved even by a person who did like the postgraduate program or like the whatever. And if you're not good in English, still 433 is an achievable score. So a lot of people ask, well, how can I become under trade category? I've never worked. So in these categories, look what we have. We have carpenters, plumbers, welders, electricians. You need trade license. I cannot like do that. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That is like the reason for that is British Columbia, as far as I'm concerned, is the best place to be if you are in trade field. Why is that? In British Columbia, I'm going to show you the 4 main categories in the trade draw are the carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and welders. That's the commonly used categories. British Columbia, you do not need a license. In Ontario, you need a license in some, right? But British Columbia is the best place. So quickly, let's go through this, right? So let's check the carpenters first, right? So if you check carpenters, just Google, go to the IRCC website, scroll down, you will see the trade certifications, right? So here it's clearly mentioned, trade certifications is compulsory in Quebec and available but voluntary in all other provinces. So it's voluntary in British Columbia. You're good to go. And the other thing, a lot of people saying, do I need to become an experienced carpenter? No. Just see the illustrative examples. They're talking about apprentice carpenter. Apprentice means a person who's starting in the job. So you need not to be a person who's highly skilled or person with work experience. You become an apprentice carpenter, work for 6 months. There you go, 433, you get your PR. Then thereafter, you need not to work as a carpenter. I mean, for an instance, like I've told this story many times, right? So I came to Canada under permanent residence category as a supervisor because I was a practicing lawyer in Sri Lanka. I had a practical issue in proving that, like in Sri Lanka, we don't have salary slip as lawyers, right? So we get paid through money, so cash. So it was very difficult. But prior to that, I have worked as a supervisor in one of the banks and one of the debt collection agencies. So I worked as a supervisor. So I used that to gain PR, but I've never worked as a supervisor in Canada. So it's to get the PR, you just have to find what is correct for you. So let's check the other 3 as well, real quick, right? So plumbers, let's check plumbers, right? So the plumber is like a skill category which is regulated in most of the provinces, but not in British Columbia. Let's read this paragraph, important paragraph. Trade certification is compulsory in Nova Scotia, Prince Edward, New Brunswick, Quebec, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and available but voluntary in Newfoundland, Labrador, Manitoba, and our key province, British Columbia. So it's not a must, right? So let's check the other one. So it's a must in Ontario, in other provinces, but not in British Columbia. So this is the most important one. Electrician, we might think, okay, it's a regulated profession. So let's check that real quick. Right, so scroll down again. Trade certification is compulsory in Newfoundland, Labrador, and Ontario, right? So it is not required in British Columbia. And here, say for trades, the trade certification construction electricians, again, the available but voluntary in British Columbia. Right? British Columbia is the best place to be if you want to target in trade category. So similar, you can check the welders. I'm not going to waste time there. So the welders also the same. You can worked without a trade certificate. So if you're able to come under trade category, that will be your best option. So if your scores are low, if you have not if you cannot get CLB 910, if you approaching the age of 40, trade is a very good option. So this is an invitation for the fathers of the families, become a hero. Just go and become a carpenter, welder, plumber, electrician for 6 to 12 months, and you get your PR for the entire family, and you are set for life. And that will be the best thing that you would do for your children and for your spouse. Right. Now, next, failing which. Let's go, let's say we cannot come under Canadian experience class. We cannot come under the federal draws. That's not the end of the world. Let's go into pilot programs. So what are these pilot programs? So the pilot programs, right? So if we check from the government, the the plan for 2027. So now we have covered the federal economic priorities. We have covered the in Canada focus. Then the next one is the pilot program. So we have agri-food agri-food program, community immigration pilots, and economic mobility program. I'm not going to talk about it because that is for like refugees, right? So in most of the cases it is not available and not applicable. So we're going to check out the other pilot programs. So let's start with agri-food pilot. Unfortunately, today is a sad day for an agri-food pilot. Just remember the date. Today, they have hit the target and the program is closed. So why I want to bring this up is just because I want to show you this was supposed to end in May, right? But it ended today because they have reached the highest number of, like the maximum number of invitations that they can process, right? So remember last year they provided, right? So they said that the closing date will be May 14th, 2024, and they used the word "or." 1,010 applications have been received. So without going into even month of March, April, May, they have received 1,010 applications, so they have closed the program. So the lesson to learn here is these pilot programs will come and go. So you have to grab it. If not, you have to like the opportunity, you might lose the opportunity, right? So then I just want to show you that because it was a very sad day, like the program ended, but there are other pilot programs. So let's start with one of the hottest. So the hottest pilot programs is the home care worker program, right? So right now, which is starting in March 31st, which is the best program as far as I'm concerned for people who are not able to gain the high CRS scores. Why I'm saying that? Look at the requirements. So government introduced this in last year, June 3rd, 2024. The requirements are very simple to meet. Why the requirements are very simple to meet? You just need to attain CLB4, which is practically very possible score. We are talking about CLB 8, 9, 10 in CRS. Here we are talking about CLB4. So that's not a very difficult task. Even for a person who's not that fluent, you can practice and get CLB4. Then the second one, hold equivalent of Canadian high school diploma. So if you have come for studies, you do have that. Maybe bachelor's, postgraduate, master's, everything is covered. So you just need equivalent to Canadian high school's diploma. If you have like a diploma in Sri Lanka, then that might be equivalent to a Canadian high school diploma, and it'll be above that. So you will be covered. Then the most important part, they are not talking about relevant education. So you can have an MBA and still apply under this caregiver program because they are not talking about a relevant education. They are talking about relevant experience, but not relevant education. So therefore, it's very important to note that you do not need healthcare education. That's a plus point, but you do not need, right? Then the third one is have recent and relevant work experience, right? So then the lot of doubt now with the program is coming to full flow by March 31st, whether people are talking, whether it's 6 months experience do you need, whether it's 12 months experience you need, right? So based on the past draws, right? So remember when this draw was introduced, the previous draw was the home childcare provider pilot and home support worker pilot, right? So then if you check this program, a day before the program ended on June 17th, a day before program ended, they reduced the experience from 1 year to 6 months. So in this current program also, you might be eligible with 6 months experience. So that might be your best bet. So right now, the government said that within the years of 2024 to 2026, they are going to invite staggering 15,000 caregivers, right? So this is going to be spread in 2025, 2026 as well. So here they have mentioned they have achieved 5,700 as of April 2024, right? So there will be like ample opportunity for caregivers this year and next year. So even if you do not qualify this year, you can qualify next year. Let's say husband, like we have husband and wife, or like let's say a scenario, you're 36, 37, and husband do not have a solid profile. Maybe he has not studied, he has done business, or he has only work, right? Wife will go on CEC path, husband will go on caregiver path. So he become a caregiver, he do a minor program, and then by the time next year, he will definitely have more than 6 months, right? So then you have both options available. If CICC comes, you grab it, wife will grab it. If the caregiver, like if the CICC scores go up, then we have a backup plan because husband is there. As I said, he is the hero of the family. He's doing the sacrifice and grabbing that opportunity of Canadian PR. So when you have two husband and wife, always have two options. Don't rely on one. Always have two options because you have come this far. It's all about doing this final sacrifice. It's just about 6 months, 12 months. Just do this. And I'm telling you, you will not regret, right? Because once you get this done, all these uncertainties, the depression that we are going through, the sleepless nights that you're going through, all will be just like pleasant memories. It's just that we have to put the icing on the cake, just do the final push. Let's do this, right? So what I'm saying is, like you have backup plans. Always have a backup plan. If your score is in 530s, 520s, yeah, no need to worry. Just grab the CICC, game over. But this is for people who does not have that luxury. So always have a backup plan, and the caregiver program is definitely a good backup plan. Right. So then that can be the pilot programs. So now we have talked about a few alternatives: healthcare, trade, pilot programs, and childcare. I'm sorry, the caregiver program is one of the best when it comes to pilot programs. Then moving on with the pilot programs, we have the community immigration pilot program. The earlier we used to have, which is called Rural Northern Immigration Program, so RNIP, right? So now it's over. The new program is RCIP or FCIP, the Rural and Francophone Community Immigration Pilots. So the good part about that is they have identified the rural communities, right? So and the good part is for our British Columbia friends, there are three rural communities for rural participating communities in British Columbia. So West Kootenay and North Okanagan, Shuswap and the Peace Lad, we have like three communities in BC. So what you need to do in this stream is find a job offer from an employer, designated employer, and then apply for endorsement, and then you'll be able to get your PR. So you don't have to go through each community will have a scoring system because it's not something like CRS. So remember, these rural areas are looking for people. So if you move on to these provinces and find employment, that will be easy. So rather than moving to another province, rather than going to like Sri Lanka again, or rather than settling to another country, this rural option is much better because you have settled in Canada. If you're unable to go through any of the pilot programs or any of the other programs that we discussed, this might not be a bad option. The reason for that is, right, so there will be less competition. That's why they have identified these communities, right? So if you see how to immigrate under this program, you have all the options, all the information, right? You just need a valid job offer from a designated employer, and you need to have at least 1 year of work experience, related work experience in the past 3 years, right? So they have mentioned what work experience will count, right? So based on the job offer tier, your work experience will count. So for job offer tier 01, you need work experience in 0, 1, 2, 3. Tier 2, work experience tier 1, 2, 3, 4. Tier 3 or 4, work experience tier 2, 3, 4. Tier 4, your work experience must be in the same 5-digit NOC. So they have a requirement here. If you are in tier 5, work experience must be in the same NOC. The previous one, it need not to be in the same NOC, right? So then the work experience exemption is there for people who have studied. If you have studied a program, the eligible credential other than master's or the higher, you would need the program to put 2 years or longer, right? If you're doing a master's, if you have done a master's in the community, then it can be 2 years or less, right? So likewise, you'll be able to meet the requirements. then the easiest way to find more details about this is just go there and let's say apply for permanent residence. Then you will be able to get to the guide, right? So this rural community immigration guide. Then just click on this. Right, so then you will see the tier code requirements. Then if you scroll down, you will see the language requirements. So if your job offer is in tier 0 or 1, you have to get CLB 6. If your job offer is tier 2 or 3, you have to get CLB 5. If your job offer is tier 4, 5, and then you have to only get CLB 4. So that's a very good alternative. So if you go back, right, so just to give a quick recap, right? So it's all about finding a job offer from a designated employer in these areas, right? If you want to try the Francophone one, if you are able to communicate in French, the same language requirement will apply, right? So if you are doing tier, based on the tier, you will be able to, like the tier 4, 5, you just need CLB 4, tier 2, 3, you need CLB 5, tier 0, 1, you need CLB 6. So that has to be in French when it comes to the Francophone program. So the Kelowna, like a very, very beautiful place. I've been there. So if you are from that area and if you are able to get at least CLB 4 or 5 or 6 in French, that might be the best option for you. So if you're outside Kelowna and if you are looking into these 3 communities, then you just need to find a job offer from a designated employer. So that will be the best option if you are living in these communities, and if you're unable to process under the other options, then this is not a bad option at all, because the good part about these rural programs is that we have less competition. It's not like the competition is not so high like Canadian experience class and so on. So let's say all these pilot programs fail. We cannot go under any of these. I cannot move. My wife has a good job. I cannot move into communities. Don't worry. Still, we have options. Right. Now, let's say you want to try the Atlantic Immigration Program. So what is this Atlantic Immigration Program? So Atlantic Immigration Program, right? So as it is shown in this graphic, 4 provinces, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland and Labrador. All these 4 provinces, they have the Atlantic Immigration Program, where it operates similar to RCIP, right? So what you have to do is you have to find a job offer from a designated employer in this province and get the endorsement and then apply for PR. And if you must have been, right? So just read this paragraph very carefully. You must receive a job offer from a designated employer in Atlantic Canada to participate in the program. You must be either, not both, right? So either a recent graduate of a recognized post-secondary institution in Atlantic Canada. So I don't think people are joining from those provinces today, because we have provided this for British Columbia. So then there is another criteria. You can just be a skilled worker. So you need not to study in these provinces. You can study in UCW. You can study in whatever the university. You can then go and apply for these programs. The good part about this is, until your application is processed, you can apply for a work permit as well. So let's see the details of this work permit. This is very important, because if you are coming to the back end of your permit, postgraduate work permit, and you only have 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, you need to find more time. Atlantic might be the great option for you, because you go there, find a job offer from a designated employer, then you will be able to apply for a work permit. So then you have to stay in that province, obviously, and then it is valid for 2 years, and you can only work for the employer who's giving the job offer. And the great part about this one is you can even apply for your spouse, right? So then the temporary work permits for spouse or common law partners, your spouse will get an open work permit. So you are coming to the back end of your postgraduate work permit. You have nowhere to go for this, because you just need to find a designated employer, and then you will be able to apply under this, right? So then Then if you see the requirements under this program, right? So then what we can do is like we'll check this, right? So here they have mentioned the requirements, right? You need to have a qualifying work experience unless you are an international graduate, which we discussed. And the education requirements is just that the depending on the tier code. If your job offer in tier 01, you need a Canadian post-secondary educational credential. If your job offer is 234, you must have Canadian high school diploma. So remember under these Atlantic provinces, tier 5 is not covered like RCIP or FCIP. Here they are talking about tier 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if you're able to get that, then you will be able to get an endorsement and apply for PR. So the language requirements is very favorable. If it is tier 4 job, you just need a CLB 4. If it is tier 0, 1, 2, 3, you just need CLB 5. So then you cannot ask for more. It's the least that you can expect, right? So then you have to demonstrate the settlement funds, obviously. So that is not another alternative that we can use. So, but that is confined to these 4 provinces. And I'm telling you, these options are like also like they filling up real quick. So if you are like coming to the back end of your postgraduate work permit, you might have to make the move. If British Columbia is not going to work, then you have to look into this. Right. So now we have talked about the majority of the immigration plans, right? So the government. So let's pull that up here. Right. So we have talked about the federal economic priorities. We have talked about in Canada focus. We have talked about all the pilot programs. We have talked about the Atlantic immigration program. Then the next hot topic is the Provincial Nominee Program. So that'll be our main topic, like the main final topic. That will British Columbia Provincial Nomination Program. Right. British Columbia Provincial Nomination Program, in my opinion, is the hardest in the country to get in. Why I'm saying that? I'll statistically prove that. So let me look into the allocations right now. So the Alberta, we know as you know, the government has slashed the PNP targets by 50%. We are supposed to get 120 this year. We are only getting 55,000. Just 55,000. So you might be wondering what happened to the bachelor's program that the British Columbia said they are going to introduce. Because of this government cut down, they have not officially cancelled it, but they were supposed to announce in January, 3rd week of January or so. We will look into those details later. But they didn't come up with because their targets been slashed by 50%. So let's take the numbers here. Alberta, we have 2025, we have 4,875. British Columbia, the government officially said that they only have 4,000. So then Manitoba, 4,750. Highest, obviously, the Ontario, they used to have 21,500. They have not officially announced. So it may be anywhere between 10,000 to 11,000. So just focus on these 4 numbers. Alberta, 4,875. BC, 4,000. Manitoba, 4,750, and even Nova Scotia, just 3,570, and then Ontario, 10,000. So why British Columbia is the hardest? Let's see the number of international students come to each province. So this is not my stat. This is actually produced by the Canadian Bureau for International Education. So if you scroll down, you will see this is the distribution of international students. Right. So Ontario, obviously, they have 52%, right? So then second highest by far is British Columbia, right? So they have 20%. And then Alberta 6%, Manitoba 3%, and the other provinces, Nova Scotia 3%. So let's go back to our calculations, right? So remember, the British Columbia will only have 4,000 and they have 20% of the international students settling in. So we are talking about more than, here, if you see 204 to 1,000 international students coming to British Columbia, we only have 4,000 provincial nominations. Isn't that hard? Percentage wise, isn't that hard? So let's compare with Manitoba. Manitoba only has 3%, that is like 27,000, and they are getting 4,750. So let's compare with Alberta. Alberta 6%, 62,750, and they are getting 4,875. So in that case, British Columbia will be one of the hardest. So the purpose of bringing this information is not to discourage you guys. It's just to show you that we have to understand the reality, right? So we have to identify, because we cannot change this. We cannot go and ask the federal court, okay, why we are having 20% of international students, so why we only have 4,000? We cannot do that. We have to play within the rules. So we need to understand PNP might not be the most feasible option unless and until you fall under prioritized category. So let's discuss that. So what are these prioritized categories and what are the programs available in BC? So the best way to find this out is the PNP site itself, right? So let's check this. So I have my own account. So let's log into this. So anyone who does not have an account, I say go and create an account. So you'll be able to see the options from the actual site itself. Don't go by my website. Don't go by others' website. Don't go by blogs. Always rely on the official site, because you cannot go wrong with the official site. So let's log in. So once you log in, you see it is categorized into two main categories. The first one is a skill immigration. Second one is the entrepreneur immigration. So the most of you is like more applicable one will be the skill immigration. So when it comes to skill immigration, they have divided into two categories. One is express entry. The other one is non-express entry. So I want to elaborate one point here. Now earlier in our session, we discussed about the normal processing time, and I showed you Canadian experience class is only 5 months. So then provincial nomination also, there are two options. One is express entry, other one non-express entry. So let's check the express entry one. So in this question, online via express entry, let's click yes. Then you will see 6 months. So 6 months is not bad. If you're going under express entry category, provincial nomination, I would say that is equally efficient like CEC. If you're going through non-express entry, I would say we are at a risk, right? Because what if like we wait for 2 years and they reject the application for an administrative mistake? We are in jeopardy. So that's why I'm saying you need to have an alternative if you're looking at the non-express entry. So if you're going through the express entry British Columbia program, you're good. It's just 6 months. So let's evaluate what are these express entry British Columbia programs. So the first one, just click on this. This one is you need to have an express entry account. So you need to have the express entry profile number and job seeker validation code, right? So then you need to have an offer to indeterminate full-time employment from Public Health Authority, tier 0123, right? So this is the express entry BC Health Authority. So you need to have a job offer from Public Health Authority in tier 0123. If you are able to get under this, you have a very good chance of getting an invitation under express entry BC Health Authority. Then you have to demonstrate that you have the education and training, and the wage offer must meet and exceed the minimum income requirements. And you have to demonstrate the language, and you have to show that you're going to settle down in British Columbia. So then the next program is like, this is only for health authorities, right? Majority of you are not falling under health authorities. So then we have to look into BC skilled worker program. So what are the requirements? Again, you need an express entry profile, and you need to have tier 0123 job, right? So then the language, and then you need to have, the most important part here is you must have a minimum of 2 years work experience in any skilled occupation, right? Then you also need to have a job offer, a full-time job offer. So this one, if you recall, it's indeterminate full-time. Here they have not mentioned that, right? So you need to have a job offer. So you must be qualified to perform these job duties, and then you have to meet the employer requirements and so on. So if you scroll up again, then the non-express entry. So the non-express entry, the first one is for entry level or the semi-skilled workers. This is very important. This is for tier 4-5. right? So if you're not a skilled worker, still British Columbia has a pathway, but unfortunately, it is non-express entry. So they have clearly mentioned it's not valid for express entry. So that means you are going to go under that 21 months long route, right? So then you have to demonstrate these duties. It's very important that you read this very carefully because it says immediately prior to registering with the BC PNP, you must have completed at least 9 months of full-time, continuous full-time employment in eligible occupation with BC employer supporting your application. So you have to complete 2 years with the BC employer who's supporting your applications, 9 months, and immediately. You cannot like we apply after 1 year. It has to be immediately. So that's very important. A lot of people make that mistake. So it has to be immediate, but it's tier 4-5, right? So then you must have completed secondary education. Then you must have a job offer for indeterminate full time. Tier 4-5. We are talking about tier 4-5, and then the other requirements apply. So then the Skill Immigration Health Authority. What they're talking about here is if you have a job offer for indeterminate full-time employment from BC Public Health Authority, underline the word, in any occupation. So how it differs from this one, the express entry healthcare is confined to tier 0, 1, 2, 3. Here, in any occupation, it can be 4, 5 as well. Still you can come under this category and apply for PR. So that's not a bad option if you are in tier 4-5 in BC public health. Only the disadvantage is you have to go through non-express entry, which is like 21 months processing time. But if that is your last alternative, I would say go for it. If you do not have any other option, this is not a bad option because you will be able to apply for a work permit and extend. So it's not a bad option. Then the other one is the last one, the skilled immigration, skilled worker, right? So here also, yeah, you have to demonstrate you must have minimum of 2 years work experience in any skilled occupation. Then you have to provide the language and you need to have a job offer and so on. So those are the main two options, right? As I said, my main target here is not to go you through the eligibility requirements and so on because that is publicly available information you can read. My goal is to show you the insights of it, right? So let's dig deep and see the PNP guide, right? So this is the PNP guide, the latest one. This was if my memory was right, was published on January 17th. So where can I find that? Oh, there you go. Right, January 17th, 2025. So if you scroll down this, right, so we will be able to see the different programs and the requirements and so on. This one right there, this graph will tell us under skilled worker which tiers are applying, under health authority for any tier category, and for express entry you need tier 0, 1, 2, 3. Likewise, you'll be able to see, and the most important ones, we are going to talk about the graduate streams. It's a hot topic in BC, right? So I'm going to talk about it. So here they have cancelled the international graduate and international postgraduate, which was there prior to the announcement of new graduate streams, right? So it's not there anymore. So then if we go to the page number 58, just type 58 here, right? You will see the points calculation. So the British Columbia PNP, their points are based on two main categories. The first one, human capital factors. The second one, economic factors. So the human capital, directly related work experience, 40 points. Highest level of education, 40 points. Language, 40 points. Wage, 55. So that's why I'm thinking British Columbia, for newcomers, it's very difficult unless you are in the trade of IT or you are in the construction, maybe the high paying jobs, because like the highest points are given to the wage. So if you're an administrator, let's say you're a bookkeeper, you're not going to get like $40-50 per hour. You will only get like 25, maybe 20 even, right? So then that makes it very difficult for you to qualify. So I'll show you down the line. So don't remember again, I'm not going to discourage, I'm telling you the truth. Let's prove it statistically, okay? So then the area also give you 25 points. So you can scroll down and you will see for the number of points allocated for the years, and then if you have at least 1 year directly related experience, you get 10 points, and if you're currently working, another 10 points. Then the education, doctoral 27, master's 22. And then if you have done studies in BC, you will be allocated points as well. Then for the language, we will get like 90 plus 9010, we get 30 points, 825, 720. Then the most important stat as far as I'm concerned is this one, the hourly wage. If you are like let's say getting 19 points, right? So out of 55 you're going to get only 4. If you're a bookkeeper who's working for $19 or $20, you will only get 5 points out of 55. So that means the maximum number you can get, if you get 100 out of 100 for the all other factors, is 150. And anyway, you're not going to get the 100 out of 100, right? You don't have a doctorate. You might not have the highest language score. You might not be in the region that gets the highest points. So what I'm going to practically prove is right now, the numbers that is there in the British Columbia, remember, let's just keep this in mind, right? We're going to look at the numbers. So one person, let's say he has the best profile, all perfect scores, but wage is just 20. So he will only get 5 points out of 55. So he will lose 50 points. That means the maximum he can get is 150. So then you will see the Metro Vancouver Regional District, you get 0 points. Then the other areas, you get like the regional areas, area 2 and 3, you get 5 and 15 points respectively. And the regional experience and regional alumni, you get the maximum score of 10. Right. So now let's see why I'm saying that it's practically impossible to get these scores. Now remember, this is the latest draw, right? So the January 2029 last updated, and we had the draw December last year. Look at these scores, 148. So if you have the perfect profile, you will get 150. Obviously, you will not get the perfect profile, so you will get less than that, right? So that means in some streams, it has come to a level where practically impossible for you guys to meet. So if that is the case, don't give like the high hopes on this. You have to find the plan B if this is not going to work, because I'm telling you, this is December 10th, right? So this is with 80,000 quota. Sorry, not sorry, 80,000, 8,000 quota. Last year they had 8,000. This year they have only 4,000. So the scores are bound to go up only. How can they come down? They cannot come down because they have only like their quota is cut down in half. So then you have to understand the reality. This might not work for you. If it is not, that's not the end of the world. So we have looked for a lot of alternatives. You can pick one of those, right? So I just want to show you, because, and very important factor I want to bring it to your notice, the British Columbia, because I have followed British Columbia very closely. I'm a big fan of British Columbia PNP some time back, right? But just remember these numbers. So the earlier one, that's 148. Just look into few numbers, right? So these high priority categories: childcare 101, construction 112, healthcare 121, veterinary care 80. Now let's go down the memory lane and see how it started in January 2024. Just look at these scores. Veterinary care 60. Now how much is that? So it's 80. Healthcare started with 60. Now the healthcare is staggering 121. It's multiplied more than twice. So then the construction 75. Construction 112. Then even the skilled worker, let's say skilled worker 120, now 148. So over the course of last year or so, British Columbia points started going up. Now it has come to a level it is practically impossible to get unless you are in these the strategic priority streams. Like you have a chance under childcare, you have a chance under construction, you do have a chance under healthcare, you do have a chance under veterinary care. Other than these streams, if you are hoping that the score is going to come down, I would say, for God's sake, have a backup plan. I'm telling for your the betterment only, because the score with the 8,000, if the scores are going to be 148 in skilled worker, with the 4,000, practically it will be difficult for them to get the scores down. Why I'm saying that? Again, I'm going to prove right? So we'll go through the statistical report that published for 2023. Remember that we don't have for 2024 yet, right? So let's go through these numbers, real highlights, right? So um, more than a third of workers nominated are based in regional communities. So the regional location has accounted for more than 33% of the nominations. So if you are in the Metro Vancouver area, your chances are even less. So let's scroll down again. So then you'll see the key construction. The construction priority started in like 2023, right? So then the right now it is continued. So if you are in construction, you do have a chance. Then the next important one that I'm going to show you is the childcare. So childcare nominations were 842. So if you are in childcare, I would say BC is not a bad option. That's a good option. But if you're in any other occupations, I would say just do have a backup plan, right? So let's go down and find more information. So if you're in healthcare, where the 85 physicians and 156 registered nurses were nominated in 2023. So if you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, you do have a chance there as well. Then just look at this, the pie chart that we have, right? Skilled worker, 46%. Now, the most important part, I know a lot of the master's graduates are looking for the new program. They have given like the big ha-hoo about the introducing a new program. We are going to start in the third week of January, blah, 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 but nothing happened. So just go through these numbers. If you add this international postgraduate and international graduate, 21% plus 19, that'll be 40%. So this is where they had like nearly 8,000 invitations quota, right? But now they're not going to have it. So the other priorities like health, trade, veterinary care, construction, and other skilled workers will gonna eat up the nominations. That's why they have postponed introducing these new 3 programs. They have talked about a graduate stream, the graduate master stream, doctorate stream, but nothing happened. So let's evaluate that, right? So if you see the graduate streams, the notice was given on March 19th, 2024. They said that the existing programs, they're going to close down and they are going to introduce 3 main programs: the bachelor stream, master stream, doctorate stream. This is because, remember, they introduced on March 19th, 2024, right? So it's very similar, very like the early in the year. But after that, the government came up with the new plan, right? So if you see here, the government said you're only going to get 55,000. So prior to that, they said they were planning to have this new program. So the government plan was introduced, like announced on October, that this one was done in March. Now, once the government slashed down the British Columbia quota by 50%, they are unable to come up with this. So they might still come up with this, but they cannot go in the full flow that they were expecting, because they were thinking, okay, we are going to get 8,000 or even more, because like maybe 9,000 we will get it. So we'll have the international graduate stream under the stream of bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. But all of a sudden, their quota was cut down. Now they are in jeopardy. So let's see the requirement of this graduate stream. I'm not talking you out of this. If this comes, this is one of the best for master's graduate and bachelor's graduate as well, right? So why I'm saying that, if you see the requirements, they have clearly mentioned that this is what I talked about earlier. They said the new bachelor's and master's program will begin accepting registration second week of January. So now we are into February. They have not started. So the doctorate, no. So the reason for that is as I said, the quota cut down. They have not officially launched like accepting the applications. So just because they have to somehow now contain with 4,000. So they have to strategically play under this, right? So they will come up with this. If it comes, then it's a good option. The reason for that is you need to be a graduate and you need the CLB 8, right? So they have clearly mentioned, and then you need to find a job offer, so which is not a bad option. So here it's clearly mentioned, job offers for bachelor's, master's stream will be required to be in tier 0, 1, 2, 3 occupations and will not be eligible for either the bachelor's or or master stream, right? So here they have mentioned that the new stream of the recent graduates will not be limited to a list of eligible occupations. So that's a good start, right? So they have mentioned that it's a good start. They have not going to have a list of eligible occupations. Then if you scroll down, they are looking at CLB 9. So if you're a master's graduate and if you have CLB 9, if you have a job offer, you keep an eye on this program, right? Don't give up on this, because if this comes again, you might have a chance. But the disappointing fact about this, right? So they have talked about the how the points are going to be based. They have mentioned this one. The human capital factors include directly related work experience. So if you recall, this is similar to the guide that we have, human capital and economic priorities. If you recall this guide here, where is this? Okay. Yeah, so the page number 58, let me show you real quick here. Right. So they're talking about this point scheme. Remember, human capital and economic factors. And in the this one also, they're talking about human capital and economic factors. So even if they introduce this one, it might be a bit difficult to meet the score, right? So then finally, we're going to talk about the entrepreneur immigration. It's a very less number, that number of invitations, but it is based on 3 streams. We have base stream, regional stream, strategic project stream. So under the base stream, you need to show like the net worth of 600,000 Canadian dollars. So I'm not going to go into detail because I'm talking to international students and people who are settling in. If you had 600,000 net worth, you might not be here, right? So then the regional stream, it's not a bad option. Again, the requirements is such where you have to have net worth of at least 300,000. But I'm going to talk a little bit about this one, this strategic projects, but the number of nominations are less. But in this particular stream, your employer can play a role, right? If you are willing to move into these strategic investment opportunities in BC, your employer, not you, right? They might be able to help you to get the PR. So the requirements is you have to be key staff members, right? So then be a current senior employees of the foreign corporation who have qualification and experience are essential to the establish and operate in BCP, the business in BC. Then you might have a chance. So I invite you to go through this. So I'm not going to take your time on this, because the entrepreneur stream, I'm asking you to look at the numbers. The numbers are not in your favor. So like the invitations are very less. So to summarize everything, what I want to say, each and every one of you, don't give up hope. You have come thus far. It's very important that we go for the final finish. We have to sprint now, because like right now, a lot of things change in Canada. So the lot of changes. So if you are able to grab a PR opportunity, grab with both hands, get done with it. Don't even hesitate. If you want to do CELPIP 5 times, go for it. It's far easier than moving to another province, moving to an Atlantic province and settling there. Because I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy because of the especially weather, BC weather, and you're going to compare that with Manitoba, Alberta, and other provinces. Good luck with that. It will be very, very difficult for you to cooperate, because like you have stayed in BC. So what I'm saying is, now you have, like, let's summarize the options. C is C. If you're able to get CLB 9, 10, and with good age, that's your best bet. Then we have health. Then we have trade. Then we have caregiver pilots. Then we have the RCIP and FCIP. Then we have Atlantic Immigration Program. Then if all of these fall, we have the British Columbia PNP. If you're especially in childcare, veterinary care, healthcare, trade, construction, you might have a chance, right? So what you need to do is just sit down and evaluate these options and find what is best for you. And then once you figure out which one is the best program for you, I would say go all guns blazing. And if you have 2 partners, like it's a husband and wife, always have 2 plans, 2 separate plans. plan A, plan B. So if one doesn't work, and even like for my clients, what I'm saying is if they are approaching the age of 40, I'm telling them a husband have plan 1, 2, and the spouse have plan 1, 2 as well. So we have 4 plans. So the chances of we going wrong in all 4 plans are very less. If you only have one plan, what if government cancel, like nobody speculated, all the gurus, they didn't speculated the PNP to cut down by 55, like 50% or more, right? No one said that, but it happened. It just happened in a blink of an eye. Government said, okay, on one fine day on October last year, they came and say, okay, PNP 55,000. We are supposed to get 120,000. So even in their plan, so if you do a Google search, right? So 2024 to 2026, they have said, so 2026 yet to come, right? So the immigration plans, they are the one who gave this plan. It's not our plan, right? They had their plan. Look at the provincial nominations. We are supposed to get 120,000 this year. What are we getting? 55,000. So they can change as and when they want. So that's why you need to have a backup plan. So what I'm telling is a lot of people come to me and say, like some people cry, I'm depressed. I hate to say this, but I don't like Canada. I want to go back. I would say if you don't like Canada, yeah, if you can go back, that's not an option. But if you came here to become a permanent resident, that was your plan. So just 1 or 2 years, or maybe 5, 6 months, just hard work and dedication, get the PR, and then decide what you want to do. For me, like I'm a Canadian citizen now, but I'm not thinking I'm going to stay in Canada forever. But I do have the passport, so I can make that move much more easier. So what I'm saying is, don't give up, because if you are like unable to find, if you're not skilled, if you're not like educated, just look at the caregiver program. What you need to meet, CLB4, can it be easily done? The Canadian Diploma, easily done. You can do that. Finding experience, I know it's a bit difficult, but in the rural areas, that's not difficult, because they are in search of caregivers. That's why they are inviting 15,000 people. So then the next one is job offer. If you go to a place and do your job well, these people who needs your help will give a job offer. So then that can be done. Look at trade category. You can become a carpenter, welder, plumber. I know, I have one person, as I've told this earlier as well, one of the leading banks, he was a manager. Now he is working as a carpenter just to ensure that his family get PR. So unfortunately, this is not what he planned to do, but sometimes you have to sacrifice. Sometimes you have to come out of your comfort zone for your family and for yourself. So what I'm saying, all of you friends, don't give up. Let's do this, right? So we as an organization, we are trying to come up with you can subscribe our YouTube channel. You can, this free of charge. We are trying to come up with all the programs and the information just to help you out. Because as an immigration lawyer, if my fellow Sri Lankans are going back, and if my fellow Sri Lankans cannot sleep, I as an individual failed. Because that's why I'm doing these free webinars, free of charge. If you want to consult us, yes, of course, you can do that. But what I'm trying to do is provide more information as when I can do that free of charge to help you guys. So likewise, help each other. Let's do this together. And then if you need any help, you can contact us, right? So once again, I'm telling you, don't give up. Stay focused. As a community, let's grab these opportunities. So good luck. I wish you all the very best. And once again, just focus on your game. Good luck.